Kuno was a young boy born in a fantasy world with the hero's scar on his face, which is considered to be incredibly rare, which was left on him by a holy knight. But the price he had to pay for that was the loss of his eyesight forever. Kuno never knew what seeing something even meant, and often asked his parents what seeing feels like, and his father would reply that seeing means being able to perceive colors, see all the beautiful things God made in this world, and it is a very important thing if you want to find big goth baddies. His mother, on the other hand, told him that the loss of his eyes is nothing compared to the hero's scar he has received, and claims that it was a small price to pay. He often heard the maids of his household pity him for the fact that he was blind, which irritated Kuno, who just wanted to be treated as a normal boy of his age. He was soon given a magic instructor as well, which he wasn't totally a fan of since he couldn't understand what would that do to a person who can't see. One of the maids guides him towards the room where his new magic tutor was waiting, and Kuno asks the maid what's the point of learning any magic if he can't even walk on his own and needs someone to handhold him at all times. The maid understands his frustration and tells him that he was born with the water crest on his forehead, which means that he has a great deal of magical affinity, especially to water magic. And if he learns the magic, he can do wonders for the world and himself. Kuno doesn't really agree with that, but decides not to argue as the maid opens the door where his new tutor, Jen, was waiting for him. The blue-haired nerd baddie greets Kuno warmly and introduces herself before starting with their first lesson. The lesson turns out to be a pretty easy one for Kuno, who immediately manages to get his staff wet with a simple spell. Jen praises him for his talents while Kuno asks what he did with the magic. Jen explains that he just used a simple magic spell, which produced a blob of water the size of an eyeball. A sudden realization hits Kuno as he grabs his eyes, which scares Jen, who thinks that Kuno is one of those woke snowflakes who can't take a joke and love getting offended. But he suddenly exclaims that if he can make water blobs the size of an eyeball, then he can also create his own set of eyes. How he connected those two things is a mystery to me, but can't argue with anime logic. Some time passes by, and now Kuno isn't as emo as he was before and has started to enjoy feeling for different things and getting intrigued by all the different sorts of food and the different scents in the room. He starts chowing down on lettuce, but has no idea what he is chewing on. But the maid happily tells him everything about it, and claims that she has been feeling so much better as making food is much more rewarding than before. She starts rubbing some blueberries on his face as he tries to understand the sense of everything. But soon his teacher comes by to tutor him, so he is forced to leave. His tutor Flora is a total mommy and asks what he wants to study today. Kuno replies that he wants to read about history today and wants to read about the story of the Holy Knight Hugh. Flora is a little surprised as the only reason he is blind is because of that Holy Knight, but the maid gives her the go-ahead. Flora turns to Kuno and tells him to let her know if he feels overwhelmed or uncomfortable at any points. Kuno tells her not to worry as he wants to learn anything and everything he can learn. Soon he gets to learn about the history of his own world and how there was a fight between the demons and the humans, and it was going very badly for the humans. Thankfully, a hero emerged from the side of humanity named Hugh the Holy Knight, who finally managed to bring an end to the tyranny of the Demon King and brought peace on Earth once again. Hugh was cursed by the Demon King though, and ever since that day every generation in his bloodline randomly gets born with something missing. Some are born without a leg, some without their teeth, and some are born without their eyes. Ever since that day, humans have been calling the disabled people of his bloodline as the reincarnations of the hero himself, as they have the scar of the hero. Kuno doesn't particularly subscribe to this ideology, though, as he believes that he is more than just the reincarnation of Hugh. He is his own person, and the magical abilities he has are his own, and not just loaned to him by some hero who is long dead. He practices his magical skills every single day and keeps getting better at it, hoping to one day create his own personal set of eyes, which he got cheated on. This all comes at a price though, as practicing so much takes a lot of mana and stamina. He falls to the ground while his maid carries him back inside. He gets up exasperated that at this rate it will take forever for him to get his own set of eyes if he doesn't increase his stamina soon. The maid tells him that he is still only 7 years old and needs to bulk up if he wants to get strong. Kuno replies that they have to find a different way since he has been passing out just by using the most basic spells, which should be completely out of question. His maid Aiko tells him that maybe they can put him on some gear just like Sam Sulek, and maybe with some sword training, he will be soon strong enough to cast as many magic spells as he wants. Kuno agrees with that, and Aiko immediately heads out to find a good swordmaster for him to train with. The very next day, Aiko finds an old swordsmaster named Oru who starts training him. He gets through the basics on his first day, by which Jen also arrives, ready for the magic lessons. Jen is a little surprised at the hard work that he is putting in, whether he wants a break. but he immediately puts down the sword and get a wand, ready for the next lesson. Jen is not sure how much stamina he has remaining, so she decides to just check whether he has retained what they learned in the last lesson. Kuno immediately chants the spell, but instead of producing just one water ball, he ends up producing like 10 perfectly clear water balls. Jen is surprised, wondering how the hell did he master the spell so quickly, and realizes that this boy is definitely built different. That afternoon, Kuno gets a visitor from the royal capital who turns out to be the princess herself called Miri. Ever since the birth of Kuno, she was betrothed to him since Kuno belonged to a noble family and he bore the scar of the hero, which is a very big thing. She didn't particularly like him though, since the last time when she came to visit him he was always being a mo, not playing any games with her. Ever since that day she started dreading the fact that she might have to live with a broody mofo for the rest of her life. To her surprise, when she saw him this time, he looked like a completely different person, as he smiled warmly at her, welcoming her to his mansion. She immediately asks whether something happened as he looks different today, and he replies that he has fallen in love with magic and found a new purpose in his life. He then apologizes for not paying proper attention whenever they met before this and claims that he has a lot to tell her about the new developments, and immediately produces a water ball in front of her. She immediately gets excited and impressed, but Kuno decides to riz her up and creates a rainbow with the help of his water ball, which turns out to be a total hit. He then takes her hand and shows her around the garden where they trade stories about their lives. And soon the sun starts setting, and she is forced to get back in her carriage and head back to the capital again. The very next day he tells Flora that he wants to learn all the mannerism of a gentleman so he can be a better partner to Miri, and even Flora is impressed at her thoughtfulness and starts teaching him all the courtesy that should come easy to a noble. After his lesson, Jen also arrives for her class and is shocked to see the change in Kuno's demeanor as he gives her a very formal greeting and thanks her for everything she has done till now. Jen decides to promote him from the basic spells and explains that now they can go ahead and learn about some more complex spells which would need him to think about all the different components of his spell. For example, you can change the viscosity, the color, the temperature amongst other things, and use it in a million different ways. She then produces 2 water balls in front of him and tells him to touch both of them. Those shapes are something he is already familiar with, so he immediately grabs them and realizes that one is warm and the other one is colder. Jen replies that alterations like these are what differentiates one magician from the other one. Kuno seems to understand the concept and produces a water ball, which then plops into the cup in front of him. He then tells Aiko to have a sip, which confuses her a little, but she doesn't question him and does as she was told. The moment she tastes the water, her expression changes, as she tells them that the water tastes like apple juice. Jen is absolutely smashed by this as she thinks about how it took her an entire sleepless night to come up with a new thing to teach him. So the least he can do is not master it immediately. That night, Kuno stays awake in his bed, holding a green and a red apple, thinking about how he can understand the taste and the scent of different things. But still he has no idea what a color is, until he manages to find a way to understand that he won't be able to create any finer alterations to his magic, let alone a set of magical eyeballs. The next day when he was sitting for breakfast, something changes inside him. He tells Aiko that he wants some milk tea without the milk, which is stupid. But Aiko doesn't want to make fun of a disabled person, so she asks him to get her some water. He produces a water ball in the air and sends it her way when suddenly he realizes that he has been able to feel different things all of her life. And what if those things are what everyone else calls colors? He picks a green apple and asks whether this apple is red. But Aiko simply thinks that he has gone insane and tells him that it's green and not red. Then he picks a different apple and asks whether that apple is red. Aiko replies that it is indeed red in color. That's when Kuno surprises her by claiming that the basket in front of him has 3 red and 2 green apples. Aiko is shocked to hear that, but Kuno replies that he has been able to feel different things by touching them. He thinks that he can figure out what each color feels like to his fingers. This is a big improvement, and Aiko immediately runs to tell his father about the new development. He immediately asks whether Kuno can read books, and Aiko replies that he is able to trace the color of the ink on the paper and read that way. The next morning, he starts practicing his magic once again and summons a huge red-colored water ball, claiming that he can sense the color better if he makes it bigger. Just then, his mother calls out to him, which breaks his concentration, and the water ball falls on them, covering them in the red liquid. His mother gets knocked out cold, thinking that something happened and her dear son was covered in blood, which confuses Kuno. But Aiko tells him that the color of blood is red as well, and that's why his mother is so scared. While this is happening, Jen watches it from afar, thinking that the feats that Kuno is able to perform is beyond anything that she has ever seen before. and wonders whether this boy has the talent to attain the most prized title in the world and become a cerulean wizard. A couple days pass by, and now Kuno has started studying about hydromancy. He is trying to expand his horizons to see what all is he good at. But Aiko doesn't seem to understand what hydromancy is, so he tries to explain to her in very simple terms that hydromancy is simply using water in a bowl to tell the future or to find something which is missing. Aiko immediately asks whether he could find a groom for her, but Kuno tells him not to worry as she is a beautiful maiden right in the flush of her youth, and loads of men would want to take her as a bride. Hell, if he wasn't a noble, betrothed to the royal princess, he would have taken her as a bride as well. They both laugh at that, as Aiko reminds him that she is 10 years his senior. But Kuno replies that age is just a number as far as he is concerned. Just then, Flora arrives for the lessons and takes his test, in which he passes with flying colors, with all the answers being very in-depth, politically correct, and nothing which could get him cancelled on Instagram. He thinks about the fact that she has basically taught him everything she could at this level, and gets worried about the fact that she might have taught him how to rizz up the huzz too well, as he tries to flirt with every girl he lays his eyes upon. Just then, Kuno offers her some tea, and starts trying to rizz her up as well, and she worries whether he might get dragged in the Me Too movement. But she thinks that it is overall better since he always used to be sad and gloomy. Now at least he seems to be enjoying his life. Later that night, Aiko tells Kuno that they need to get ready as his lord father wants to meet him and has called him over to his mansion. He immediately gets ready, and soon the two of them head out into the cold night with a torch in Aiko's hand while she complains about being cold. Kuno decides to do something about it and uses his magic to produce two big blobs of water. But to Aiko's surprise, the water is warm and soft. She pushes it against her face, claiming that she would love to sleep in a bed made with this, and Kuno tells her not to worry, as this is just a prototype and he is already getting ready for many more products. He then asks Aiko honestly whether he did something wrong in the past few days and whether his father is calling him because he is angry at him. He remembers the last event when he created the red water ball, which caused his mother to faint and his dad got mad at him. Aiko tells her not to worry as he has been doing everything perfectly, so there should be no reason for his dad to be upset at him. Soon they arrive at the mansion and quickly huddle inside for some warmth, when he gets greeted by the house butler and his older brother. Kuno is very happy to see his older brother, as he doesn't get to see him very often. But his brother tells him that they don't have a lot of time because their parents are waiting in the solar. The older brother leads them to the room, and on the way, he asks Kuno whether he would like to hold his hand as a guide. But Kuno tells him not to worry as now he is able to sense his environment a great deal better and shouldn't have much trouble maneuvering through it. His brother thinks about the time when Kuno would always stay in his emo state and he would always have to hold his hand to take him anywhere, even in the house. He is really surprised by the amount of change Kuno has gone through in such a small time and wishes him the best. Soon they knock at the solar and enter inside, when his father tells him that Miss Flora claims that she has taught everything she has to teach to a noble child, and for further education, a formal school would be necessary. Kuno replies that he doesn't really want to go to a school as he doesn't want to create problems for any classmates or teachers with his disability. Moreover, he claims that he has plans of his own and has decided what avenue he wants to follow, and it definitely doesn't involve a school. His father laughs at it. While my father would have whooped my ass if I said this, his father claims that he thinks that formal education is for normies as well, but since it is mandatory by law for anyone of noble descent, he had to ask the king for a favor and create an exception for Kuno. Kuno replies that he can smell the nepotism already, and his father tells him to shut the hell up and take what's given to him without trying to be too woke. With that, Kuno comes to the actual questions and starts asking about his pocket money, claiming that he deserves a raise considering that he has been working so hard. But just like a capitalist pig, his father declines, claiming that the next time he pulls any stunts like the Garden Blood incident, he is going to cut his pocket money for 6 straight months. His mother butts in to change the topic and brings the train back on the track. His father remembers why exactly he called Kuno here and tells him that while he agrees with his decision to drop out from the school, he also needs to think about his future with the Princess Miri. Since schooling is such an important part in the noble's upbringing, she might face ridicule about the fact that her husband-to-be is not even schooled properly. Surprisingly enough, Kuno understands all this and agrees to go to the school, claiming that it will be a hassle, but he can't let the princess be ridiculed because of him. His father tells him not to worry though, since with the power of nepotism and corruption, he has made it so that he only has to go to the school 5 times to give the final advanced level exams and pass it to graduate. That sounds like a win-win situation to Kuno, so he immediately agrees. His older brother tells him not to worry, and he won't be alone since both him and Princess Miri are going to attend the same exam as well, so all of them can graduate together. His mom gets really excited at the fact that her son will be attending the school soon and immediately calls in Aiko, as they will have to take a bunch of measurements for his coat and other pieces of clothing. Before he can go, his father calls Ixio back in and tells him that while Kuno is at the school, some other nobles who hate them might try to approach him and Princess Miri, and it will be his job to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Ixio tells him not to worry, as he will always be with them and make sure his younger brother is safe. The next time Princess Miri visits him, she is excited to know that he will be attending the school with her, and tells him not to worry as she will escort him around and show him everything. Kuno wonders out loud that other nobles who are in love with her might not like that and get jealous, but Miri tells him not to worry as that will not happen. Kuno asks whether she is not popular in her school then and is just another loner, but she tells him that she is obviously very popular on the account of her being a princess, and she knows of at least 5 boys eager to court her. Kuno thinks about the fact that these things can become problematic, so he decides to get a different magic staff for self-defense. Finally, the day of departure comes and Kuno gets ready alongside Ixio. But everyone is focused on Kuno as he looks dashing with his new cape and a new cane. He flashes a few poses before getting in the carriage and then uses his water magic to cover the wheels of the wagon with a thin layer of water to make it more stable and less bumpy. Ixio is pretty impressed by Kuno's ideas, while Kuno is just happy that his magical skills have some actual real-life uses, unlike a degree in gender studies or anthropology. His brother reminisces about the time when Kuno was still a gloomy emo kid and fell over because Ixio wasn't paying attention and then started crying like a little bitch. Kuno tells him not to worry, as he is not that person anymore and is strong enough that he can outlive all of humanity. Ixio starts getting a little worried, as his little snot of a brother is starting to talk more like a demon king than a hero's reincarnation. But he puts his thoughts aside when they finally arrive at the academy. Kuno finds Miri waiting for him outside and immediately starts flirting with her, while his older brother stands around awkwardly. Kuno soon gets a little overwhelmed by all the new stimulus as he can hear thousands of voices and feel the presence of hundreds of students inside the school. He thinks about how his earlier self would have recoiled from this, but his magic has given him the confidence he needed, and he grabs Miri's hands and enters the academy. He immediately becomes the fan favorite of the girls, as they claim that the new boy looks more like the prince in the stories than a student. While even the professor who was supposed to show him around the school who was stressed as she heard that Kuno was an extremely shy boy. But the reality looks completely different. She calls out to him and introduces herself as Professor Cast, claiming that she is going to be his guide today. He thanks her for the help and bids farewell to his brother and Miri, who promised to have lunch together. While the professor was showing him around, he had no idea that he had already made a bunch of enemies of the bullies who used to rule the school and were the most popular before his arrival. Cass takes Kuno to a separate classroom and explains that he will be giving 5 exams for his graduation, and usually there is a gap between each exam. But since the school got direct orders from his father and the king himself to bunch his exams together, Kuno seriously replies that the king and his father are besties, and what they are doing is a clear case of nepotism which he doesn't support at all. Cass claims that she doesn't want to be dragged in any kind of political messes and pleads him to keep her out of his woke activism. She hands him the question paper and claims that he has 2 hours to finish the exam. After the exam was over, he meets up with Miri and heads down to get something to eat. Before he could reach the dining area though, they get approached by Prince Lyle, who is Miri's older brother, and pissed at the fact that someone more popular than him is in the school right now. Kuno feels Miri tense up at the sight of her brother, but has no idea who he is facing at the moment. He was about to lash out as prince or not. No one talks shit to his bride-to-be. But before he could do anything, Ixio intervenes and tries to dissolve the situation. Unfortunately, Lyle and his cronies don't seem to be in a mood to talk nicely, and keep trying to escalate the situation. Just then, Kuno decides to take matters in his own hands as he secretly uses his magic to collect all the magical droplets nearby and pulls it down at Lyle's trousers before claiming that the prince seems to have pissed his pants. The prince is furious, but too embarrassed to say anything as he walks away to get changed. while Ixio tells his brother to keep it down as no one can ever know that he is the one who did that to the royal prince of the kingdom. Ixio keeps racking his brains about what might happen now that they have created an enmity with the sixth prince of the kingdom. But Kuno doesn't really seem to care as he munches down on his burger, while Ixio prays that they qualify their exams without any further mishaps. Meanwhile, Lyle is pissed off at Kuno, and he is planning his revenge. He walks menacingly through the school corridors, and the students are all scared of him. He doesn't spare even the teachers and tells Cass to get back in the kitchen when she asks him to be a little quiet in the hallways. Back in the dining hall, Kuno asks Miri and Ixio what the hell is wrong with Lyle, and why did he not even try to hide his hatred. Miri replies that he probably did that to keep her status in check, because he is afraid she will overshadow him someday. Kuno is interested in the tea, and Miri tells him that Lyle is the sixth prince, and she is the ninth princess. In normal hierarchy, she is below him. But since she is engaged to someone bearing the hero's scar, her social status is rising quickly, and that scares Lyle. Miri says that now that Kuno has made his social debut, the two of them have higher social status than Lyle, and he is just desperate to stay relevant. Kuno finds all that politics stuff boring, and Miri tells him that even if he were not a magician or the bearer of the holy scar, she would still be happy to be engaged to him. Kuno uses his flirting skills and says that he is glad to be engaged to her too, and the next time he sees her dad, he will kneel before him in gratitude, even though he is never going to kneel before another man. With that, he says that he should apologize to Prince Lyle for his actions first. But both Ixio and Miri tell him not to even dare, because that is a worse idea than dating a girl who is still friends with her ex. Soon after that, it is time for Kuno's final exam, and he trains his magic with Jen before taking the test. As usual, he summons a blob of water and Jen tells him to change its sensation today. Kuno immediately uses his power to freeze the blob, and when Jen holds it, she says that it feels like an apple, which is not really possible, but nerd baddies are always right. She tells Kuno to touch a lot of things to understand how they feel, and then use them to alter his magic even further. Instead of using this chance to touch her, or some grass, Kuno goes and starts diddling a horse as soon as he reaches school. Ixio comes out and is taken aback on seeing his brother act so sus, but he decides to leave him to his methods. Just then, Miri comes running to welcome them, and Kuno acts extra dramatic, saying that since it is the last day he is going to meet her at school, he feels like the world is ending for him. After that, he goes inside where Cass tells him that he will be taking the final exam with the rest of the students. Kuno is shocked on hearing that, and he is quite excited because this is the first time he is going to get the real feel of his school life. He then turns to Cass and says that he will miss being alone with her in their special room, and she isn't really bothered by how inappropriate that sounds. She tells Kuno that she will be only watching over him and wishes him the best of luck for the test. Ixio remarks that Kuno seems to have become very close to Cass, and he affirms, saying that they talked a lot during the exams. He talks about how Cass took the exam to be a teacher following a guy she loved, but that loser failed the exam and only she passed. Now she is a teacher and he is a jobless bum, and Cass has no idea what she is doing with her life. Both Ixio and Miri are bothered about Cass's mental health after hearing the topics that she is talking about with a child, but just then, some students interrupt them because they are curious about Kuno too. Cass tells him to introduce himself, and Kuno introduces himself as Miri's fiancé and Ixio's little brother. Everyone is impressed by him for no reason at all, and Kuno says that he is really happy to see that his fiancé and older brother actually have friends, because no one had approached them till now, and he was sad thinking they were loners. Ixio tells Kuno not to diss them like that, and Miri gets embarrassed as she explains that she had asked all her friends to leave her alone so that she could spend more quality time with him. Kuno apologizes for not realizing her feelings, and then repeats that he is glad that both she and Ixio have friends. He didn't want to be direct with them and ask if they are loners because that would be rude, and Mama didn't raise a rude boy. He was almost ready to tell them that it is okay not to have friends by playing the sympathy card and telling them that he has got it even worse. Everyone else is convinced by his act, but Miri knows that Kuno has no issue being friendless, and he affirms. Soon, it is time for the exam to begin, and Cass tells Kuno to stop diddling the pigeon and get to his seat. Miri starts leading him to his seat when suddenly, Lyle comes there and pushes both of them away. He is pissed at Miri because the news about the recent pant wedding incident has reached the palace, and even the servants were talking behind his back. Lyle thinks that everyone here is the same, and they must be bitching behind his back because they don't have the guts to say things to his face. He clenches his fists in rage, but then Kuno grabs his hand suddenly, introducing himself to the prince. He says that he didn't get the chance to greet him properly the other day, but he really wanted to get along well with his brother-in-law. The entire class is stunned on seeing this because no one dares to get close to Lyle except a few bootlickers. On the other hand, this is the first time someone has greeted Lyle like this, and he doesn't know how to react to it. Kuno shakes his hand vigorously and Lyle is unable to get free from his grip no matter how much he tries. He acts super woke and tells Kuno that he never gave him the consent to hold his hand or talk to him. Kuno, however, completely ignores that statement and says that Lyle has really manly hands and he wants them around his throat. This is too much for Lyle and he immediately turns to Miri, asking what the hell is wrong with her future husband. Instead of answering, Miri starts laughing because she never imagined Lyle could blush like that. Lyle is even more embarrassed as the entire class joins Miri in laughing at his reactions, and he turns to Kuno, ordering him to let go of his hand. Kuno finally leaves him alone, and the matter is resolved peacefully. Cast begins the exam, and once it is done and the answer sheets are checked, she announces that everyone passed the exam. Everyone is happy to hear that, and Kuno celebrates that he graduated with his brother and fiancé. Later that evening, he leaves for home and wishes everyone goodbye. Everyone is sad to bid goodbye to the quirky but charming boy, and even Lyle seems to have changed after meeting Kuno. The next day, his magic lessons with Jen resume, and she tells him to create a small typhoon. Kuno creates that, and then at Jen's order, he splits it into 10 water balls, colors them, and then changes their texture. Jen is satisfied with this, but Kuno has more to show. He says that he has learned something new recently, and then changes one water blob into a white pigeon that flies like the real thing. Jen falls to her knees, realizing that Kuno is officially a much better sorcerer than her, and she is going to lose the job of teaching him. She decides to reveal this truth to Kuno during tea time, and asks him to prepare himself mentally because she has shocking news for him. Kuno sends Aiko away before asking Jen if she is a goddess who came from another world to teach him, but now she must return to her divine dimension. Jen is amused by that idea, but she doesn't entertain it too much. She tells Kuno that she doesn't have anything left to teach him, and he is already better than her now. Kuno gets up and says that he doesn't want to let her go, because the little tricks she invented to keep him busy and extend her employment made him understand a lot more about magic than any normal class would. More than that, he is grateful because she was the one who inspired him to create eyes using magic. He is desperate to keep her as his teacher and offers to increase her salary. But Jen is honest for once and states that she was overpaid all this time, and now she doesn't have work to do. She tells Kuno that he should get a teacher who is much better than her to study further, but he refuses. He says that he grew so much because of her little tricks and demands her to deceive him further. As he says this, animals made of water come out from everywhere and start cuddling with Jen, who is even more sure of the fact that her role in Kuno's life is over now. With that, she leaves Kuno's house and decides to become a better sorcerer after being inspired by her students' hard work and dedication. Soon after that, Aiko tells Kuno that even Flora has resigned from her job because the curriculum is complete and Kuno has graduated. She didn't wait to say goodbye because she would be too emotional, and Kuno decides to write her a thank you letter. Aiko tells him to ask her if she has a handsome servant in her mansion, who is over 6 feet tall, because she is looking for a groom. Kuno asks Aiko if she really plans to quit her job and marry someone. Aiko affirms, saying that she feels that Kuno can look after himself perfectly now, and it is time for her to get married because the dating pool after that is quite bad. During dinner, Kuno tells his parents that all his teachers have quit and Jen told him to find an extraordinary magician to teach him next. Ixio says that the royal sorcerer Zio is quite famous recently, and his mom can vouch for that. Kuno asks his dad to appoint the guy named Zio as his teacher, but he tells him that's not how things work. He makes it clear that he cannot call the royal sorcerer here to teach him, and Kuno asks his dad what is the point of being the king's best friend if he can't do even this much. Kuno's dad tells him that only the king and people directly authorized by him can meet the royal sorcerers, who rarely leave the castle and don't meet commoners. Kuno understands his dilemma now, but he has a solution ready for that. He tells his dad that he will come with him to the royal palace the next time he goes to talk to the king, and then he will get lost there. The royal sorcerers will find him, and through some plot armor, he will be taken in as their student. Kuno's dad tells him to stop watching so much anime and K-drama because things don't work like that in real life. He says that his plan has no guarantee that it will work, but Kuno is confident that it will get him what he wants. He asks his mother to help him, and since she favors him a lot, she pleads with his dad to do something. The guy is a simp for his wife, so he agrees to talk to the king about the matter, even though he doesn't have much hope in the plan succeeding. A couple days later, a master sorcerer receives a file from another high-level sorcerer. He is taken aback at an apprentice sorcerer learning to become student of the royal sorcerer Zio. But the girl tells him that the boy seems talented and Princess Miri is head over heels in love with him. The master doesn't care about that and starts reading Kuno's file in detail, and that is enough to get him interested in the boy.